Hi, Spicewood kiddos. It's Miss Rayborn here. We are going to talk for the next couple of weeks during our choice time about how to make paper sculptures. So, I wanted us to get a chance to look at some examples of paper sculptures before we get started. Here on this page right here is an example of a paper sculpture that's made by an artist named Amanda Eldridge. And I thought it was really inspiring because it's very colorful, it's very bright, it's full of patterns, and I really liked that. I felt very inspired by that. So I'm kind of keeping it in the back of my mind as a possibility for the inspiration for my paper sculpture when we get started here in a little bit. So let's look at a few more examples. This particular artist is an origami artist. So this is two pieces of paper. This whole thing is made with two pieces of paper. This one over here is one piece, and this one over here is one piece, and they have been connected together to form this sculpture. What I find so interesting about this is all of these creations and patterns are made by folding the piece of paper, the one piece of paper. So pretty incredible what he can do with origami. Here's another example of an origami folded sculpture that is one piece of paper. All of these folds are created to make it look like it's popping out and three-dimensional, and it is a little bit off the page. However, all folded from just one piece of paper. Pretty incredible. Let's look at another artist that makes paper sculptures. And to start with, they look pretty simple, right? They look like maybe they're made out of clay, possibly. Maybe it's been glazed to be white or it's been fired. What's so interesting about these sculptures is that they are layers and layers and layers and layers of paper stacked on top of each other. Let's look at an example of what it looks like when you pull it apart. Isn't that amazing? We can see how these are layers and layers and layers and layers of paper. And this artist used glue to glue the layers together. So let's watch how that works. This video is going to show us just a little bit. Look how you can, it's like a slinky. Wow. So it says, people are freaking out about these paper sculptures. Look, he started with books. So this is a Chinese artist. And now the layers of paper are stacked and glued together so that you can pull them apart almost like a slinky. Look at that. That is pretty incredible. Layers and layers and layers. He says it uses paper and glue to create those. Let's look at another one. This particular artist, her name is Yulia, and she makes folded paper into sculptures. So all of this right here is folded pieces of paper. She makes sculptures of animals. Look at this beautiful sea turtle. These are rolls of paper inside of here that are creating that pattern. I found several videos of her artwork that show how she creates it. So let's look at how she makes this quail. So do you see how she has a whole jar of paper rolls and she's dipping them into glue and then placing them on top? She's got her folded paper and she dips it in glue, and then look at that. She sort of clamps it together so it will dry. These are little cut pieces of paper, which are going to look like the feathers of the quail. They're kind of layered. They almost look like fish scales right now. Now look at this, how she's creating these feathery textures by cutting the paper. She makes lots of them before she gets started putting in, look, it looks like it's going to be some grass around the quail. Pretty amazing. Look, there it is, finished. Awesome. Look at this example of a portrait. A portrait is a painting, a drawing, a sculpture, a painting of a person. So here we can see how those folded pieces of paper overlap each other. And up close, look at this. We can see the eye up close, what it actually looks like with these folded spaces of different colors of paper, different rolls of paper, different folds of paper to create this beautiful portrait. So this is the last thing I'm going to show you before we start to make our own. This is that artist's studio. so that you can get an idea of what it's like for her to work in her space and how she collects different kinds of papers, where they would find them, how she stores them. So this is what it looks like when she started. And look at all the strips of paper that she has, hundreds and hundreds of colors. They're all cut to sort of the same width so she can fold them. Looks like she has drawers and drawers of paper in her art studio. Now look at this for her rolls of paper. Looks like she rolls paper and then she collects them all in little bins so that she can find what she needs when she's ready for it. Different kinds of folds of paper, more rolled things. Wow. So that was super inspiring to see these different artists and how they use paper to create sculptures. So you're going to continue watching the video, and Miss Rayborn is going to show you a demonstration of some different ways that you can fold your paper, roll your paper, cut your paper, and how you can glue it and attach it together to make your very own paper sculpture. So I'll see you again in a minute for some directions. Hi Spicewood kiddos, it's Miss Rayborn here. We are going to work on creating some paper sculptures of our own, and I'm just sort of gathering together the things that I need to work with. So Miss Rayborn is going to use white paper because I know that a lot of you do not have colored paper at home. If you happen to have colored paper available to you, please feel free to use it, just like you could on your paper weaving, but I don't want to make any assumptions about what you have at home. So I have just a stack of white paper. I did get myself one piece of black paper, mostly because I want you to see when I'm gluing down what it looks like. So you do not need to have this. I just wanted you to be able to see the techniques for gluing, which will make sense here in a few minutes. So you don't need this black piece of paper. I just have one so that it'll be clear. So I have a stack of white paper. You need some kind of glue. It's totally up to you. I think I probably will use the glue stick. Whatever you have is great. You need a pair of scissors of some kind. If you happen to have extra cutting things like hole punches or fancy scissors that make a pattern or things like that, those are all great. And please use them if you want to. I just don't want to assume that you have anything at home. So again, I've got paper, I've got some kind of glue, I've got scissors, and then the sort of first step, kind of like we did when we were working with our paper weaving the last time, if you did paper weaving, was that we first added some color to our paper. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just add some pattern to my paper. I don't really wanna spend the time coloring the whole paper. So I decided to go with pattern is how I'm gonna work on filling my spaces. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create some different sections of patterns on my paper with different colors. So I'm using some marker right now, and some of it's kind of going off the edge of the page, and some of it I'm just sort of filling my space with some colorful patterns. I started with these little green, they're sort of like little dots or dashes. And I'm kind of trying to be a bit random about them rather than making them incredibly precise. I was working on them being a little bit kind of random. So I've got a section of those. Maybe I'll make a section with some kind of a line pattern, like a zigzag, which we talked about a little bit before. Try to just follow along as close to that as I can. Really, I'm just creating some pattern on my pages, trying to fill those spaces. I'm gonna do a couple more of these. I haven't really decided what I'm gonna do with each of these different sections of my paper. I'm just sort of starting to get it ready. Maybe I'll make sort of an end to where these things are, just so that there's a bit of a space there. And flip and do the same thing over here. By the time I get over here, they aren't really perfectly even anyway. And then maybe some red. Maybe this time I will do just polka dots and kind of spread them out from each other. Notice I'm being gentle on my marker. I'm not bang, bam, bam, pounding, because I'll end up messing up my marker in the long run and it'll cause myself all different kinds of problems. So I'm just filling up that page. If I were you, I would probably fill a couple of pages with either pattern or color before you start to make. Okay, so if you want to, you can press pause on the video for a few minutes and get a few pages full of patterns. Miss Rayborn is going to stop here for just a minute and fill a couple more pages. So feel free to press pause and fill a couple of pages worth of either color or patterns. Up to you. You absolutely could use a crayon or something and just fill these pages with color. You could put patterns on top of them. Your choice. So I've got one. I'm going to do 2 more before I go on.